Hi everybody and welcome to our latest round of GAA predictions. This weekend we're going to be focusing on the All-Ireland football. So we've reached the quarterfinal stage and we've got 4 really exciting matches to look forward to. So we're going to take a look ahead to some of those games and also touch on maybe last weekend's preliminary results as well in the process. I'm Lewis. I'm joined again from Jack from the Betting Island team. How are you doing, Jack?
I'm doing very well, Lewis. How are you doing?
I'm really good, Jack. I'm really good. I'm really looking forward to this weekend because I think we've only got 4 matches. I think obviously we're reaching the business end of the tournament, so some really good matches to look forward to. I thought a good place to start was with the match which I think might be the toughest one to call, which is Tyrone against Dublin. And what's intriguing about it is that it looks like the bookies are completely split with both teams priced at 2.1 to win. What are your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, I'm similar to the bookies. I don't think it's a hard one to call. I've kind of changed my mind a few times on it. I started thinking, Dublin will win, and then I went to Tyrone, back to Dublin. But I just think now, looks like Canavan will be back for Dublin this weekend. He's been missing their last few games. I think he's just their star player that they need. So I think he just might be the difference maker that gets Dublin the victory in this one. I think being in Croke Park as well will always suit Dublin. They're always good in Croke Park, so I'm just thinking Dublin might edge this one, but could go either way. I'm really looking forward to that game.
I agree. I mean, I think I agree with you in the process. I went back and forth. I think the issue that I think there's things you can say for both teams that give them the edge. I think obviously Tyrone had a weekend off last weekend. They didn't have to go through the preliminary quarterfinals, which I think can be an advantage at this stage. It's a long season. Obviously Dublin had a tough group, and then they had to play in those preliminaries last weekend. So I think it could give Tyrone an edge. So at the end of the process, I actually came down on the other side. I thought Tyrone might edge it.
Yeah.
So it just shows what a tough game this is to call. It might be one of those where people have to look beyond the moneyline market.
Yeah, definitely. Either way, it could really go either way. I can see your points on Tyrone, because Tyrone have been really strong this season, and that week off, actually, I never even factored in the week off when I was thinking about it. That kind of maybe changed my mind a bit slightly back in favour of Tyrone, because they had a tough group themselves, and they beat Donegal, which not many teams are able to do, so Tyrone will be full of confidence as well.
I think but it is such a tough one to call. I think if you do look outside of the money line or maybe the match betting, I think the goal scorer markets offer a bit of value here. I was looking at Tyrone with Canavan. I think he's a really good player. He's been in good form, and he's 4.50 to win anytime goal scorer in the game. So
yeah, definitely, that's a really good one. He's just one of their star players, brilliant player. And I think that's really good odds, 4.50 for him, because he'll be the one they're looking for to maybe make the difference for them. So I think, I think I agree with you there on that one. That odds are very intriguing. Then them odds there for that one.
Yeah, I'd definitely explore those markets, because when those matches are tough to call, especially at this stage of the competition, it's very difficult to pick a winner. I don't think you can look far beyond some of those prop markets and see if you can find some value there.
Yeah, I suppose we'll continue on with the quarterfinals on Saturday. Monaghan and Donegal is another really tough one to call. Monaghan, they've had a really strong year, but they're coming up against Donegal again. They knocked them out of the Ulster Championship in a tight game. So what are you thinking for this one now in the quarterfinals?
Well, it's really tough. I thought Donegal were a bit unfortunate to be in the preliminaries. They only missed out on automatic qualification because of that 3-point defeat to Tyrone. They were really competitive, and they did thump Louth last weekend. It was a big win for them, and they looked in really good form. So I think it could be one of those games in that case where the extra match might have done them some good. We talk about rest, but it depends on the result. If you go and get a good result in the preliminary, you've got a bit of momentum and a bit of confidence. I know Monaghan topped their group, but they did have a slightly easier draw, I think. Yeah. If you look at the sort of the teams that some of the other sides in the quarterfinals had to face. And they also played in Division 2 this season. I know they got promotion, but they have operated at a slightly lower level. So I think although it'll be a really close game, and maybe closer than some people think, I think Donegal have got the edge and maybe a bit more experience at this level. So I'd probably lean towards them.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. I think it will be a tight game, as you say, but Donegal just have that X factor, it seems, especially in attack, where they'll get the victory. I think the odds for them to win 1.40, I thought that it might be a bit higher just because of the form of Monaghan this season. So I was sort of looking at the handicap market. There's one for Monaghan that Boyle Sports are offering about +4.
Yeah.
It's 1.83. So I just think, based on their last match as well earlier in the year, it was 23 points to 21 to Donegal. So again, I'd expect another high-scoring tight game with Donegal just getting the win. So I think Monaghan +4 is one that stood out to me for that one.
I agree, that stood out to me. Another one I thought was quite good was if you want to go for the negative handicap on Donegal, you can get -183.
Yeah.
I think that's quite reasonable as well. I don't expect Donegal to win by a lot, but I think they will win. I think 3 points isn't a massive margin. It's a goal here or there. So I think either of those handicaps are pretty good. It just depends on whether you're a little bit leaning towards the fact that Monaghan could put up a stronger performance and maybe keep the game close. But I think both of those bets are pretty good picks.
Yeah, definitely. Next up, Meath versus Galway is an interesting one, just based on the year Meath have had. And Galway, again, had that preliminary game last week. And it's kind of maybe had a different effect where it was a bad thing for them with a couple of injuries that they got in that game. Shane Walsh going off with 10 minutes to go, and Killian McDade as well. If they're not back fit, this could be a tricky one for Galway. What do you think?
I totally agree. I think the loss of Shane Walsh is a real game changer, because he's been in such good form, and last week again he was the difference. Yeah. So I think when you lose a player like that, we've seen them as well. They've struggled without him. He's a bit of a talisman for them. So they'll be sweating on his fitness. The reports at the moment aren't particularly clear whether he'll play or not. Could be maybe a tactic. Maybe they're keeping the cards close to the chest. I would expect he'll play unless it's a really serious knock. I would expect he'll play. And if he plays, then I think he'll impact the game. Meath are a difficult one, because obviously they thumped Kerry, which is a hugely impressive result. But I think, as we touched on last week, ahead of the preliminaries, Kerry put out a slightly weakened team. So it's hard to draw too much into that. I still think Meath are they're not as good a team as Galway. And I think if Galway have their strongest 11, if they do have Shane Walsh fit, I would lean towards them. But it is tricky with those injuries and not being quite sure of who's going to line up.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's a sort of one where if you were betting on it, I'd probably wait until the games are announced, or just before it kicks off, because I think if Shane Walsh is fit for Galway, I think Galway do get the result, because even if he just plays 50 minutes and not the full 70, as we seen last week, he ran the show in that first. I think he scored 1-5 in the first half, or something ridiculous. And he's well able to kick a few 2-pointers as well. So I think if he's there, Galway win the game. But if he's not there, I could see maybe a shock at Meath getting the win, because their odds are 3.5. So I think if you just wait before the match is thrown in, wait to see the teams. Maybe even if Shane Walsh is on the bench, you might tip Galway. But if he's not in the squad at all, I'd be leaning towards Meath.
I would agree. I think you're right about Walsh. I think his ability to hit 2 points was on evidence last week as well. He could score from so many different places, and he dominated that game last weekend. So he's such a difference. So yeah, I'd definitely hold fire, because the odds on a Galway win aren't that great either. They're about 1.44. Even with a handicap of 3 points, you can get it to 1.83, I think. But it's whether Shane Walsh is that big a difference that you really want to hold fire and just see if he's in the squad or fit, or keep your eyes on the news and see if any updates get released ahead of the game. But if he's in, I'd definitely look at Galway. If he's in from the start, maybe even a handicap. But otherwise, I think Meath offer a lot of value in that market if he's not fit.
Yeah, definitely. Finally, probably maybe the match of the weekend, a potential All-Ireland final match, and it's happening in the quarterfinal stage, Armagh versus Kerry. What are your thoughts on this one?
Absolutely. So many people would look at this and say it's a shame it's not the final. It's an absolutely huge game. Obviously, Armagh, the defending champions, very difficult team to beat. But then you've got Kerry, who are having an amazing season. Obviously, winning the Division 1 title, winning the Munster Championship, and obviously, yes, they suffered that slip up against Meath, but they'd already qualified. Comfortably won in the preliminaries, as we expected. So, yeah, I mean, it's a huge game. It's such a tough one to call. I think the bookies have actually made Armagh the favourites. I think on all sports are the fact. I just got a feeling Kerry might nick it. I think they're having such a good year. David Clifford's in terrific form. He's hit 3-7 last week in the preliminaries. I just feel that it might be their year.
Yeah, that's a good point, and you make there about Clifford. We did mention last week that we think he might be the difference and get a goal. We weren't expecting he'd get 3, but Patrick, and he could have had 2 or 3 more. So, but Kerry, I think that preliminary game last week could help them, because they got over that defeat to Meath, even if they weren't the strongest team they had out, but they still had the defeat, and psychologically that could have an impact. But the put that to rest with the game against Canavan. I think Armagh have kind of just been more consistent this season. You kind of know what you're going to get from Armagh, where they just kind of play the same way every time consistently, whereas Kerry, it could be they score 320 or they could concede a lot either. So I think it depends on which Kerry shows up. If it was the Kerry that showed up last week with Clifford on form, I think Kerry will get the job done. But as you've seen a couple of times in the group against Cork, I think they really struggled in the first half and they were 3 points down, and then they just turned it on the second half to comfortably win. So I think you could be right about Kerry. I think Kerry could just nick this one, and the fact that they're the underdogs is the odds. It's an intriguing one because Armagh 1.73 is decent odds as well, but that Kerry margin, because they do have the capability on their day to outscore any team, and Armagh maybe aren't the highest scoring team. They're kind of just defensively solid, whereas Kerry could score 320 very easily, you know.
I think you're right. I think another factor, I definitely agree with playing last weekend. I think he would have got the defeat out of the system. I think they'll be chomping at a bit. Obviously, they lost in the semis to Armagh last year, and I think there'll be an element of they'll be really committed to get revenge. It can be a hard tournament to retain, the All Ireland, just because it's so competitive. And I think having won it, I just feel like Kerry will have that real desire to win it, and we know that historically they're very good at at winning this type of competition. So I just feel it's lining up for them maybe, and I think as well I may be wrong. I'm not sure if they beat them in the Division 1 as well by about 10 points back in March. Kerry, can't read too much into that, but I do feel that just this season, the season they're having, I feel that they might raise their game, and I think if they raise their game, they might get the win, and especially if you can get on them to win outright at 2.5, I think that's an incredible price. So I would probably lean towards Kerry.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right there about they get this win, the momentum that they'll get from beating the All Ireland champions could carry them over to winning it come a few weeks' time, winning the final. So just to sum up there, your market for the weekend, which one's really standing out for you?
I have to admit I like the Kerry market. I just think that it's such a high price. I think I'm not saying the bookies have got it wrong necessarily, but I think when you look at a team like Kerry 2.5, I know Armagh are incredibly strong, like you say. The strength lies in their consistency. But I think when you get a team that is capable of raising their game, and they're obviously in good form, and they've got the winning habit this year, I've got a feeling, you get a feeling with teams as well, they have a bit of momentum. I think Kerry have got a little bit of that, and I just feel like this weekend 2.5, I fancy them just to get the win. I think that's a really good price, hard to miss out on.
Yes, very, very high price. I'm surprised they're actually that high in price. I thought it would be similar to the Dublin Tyrone game where they might both be at 2.0, 2.1. Yeah. I think one that stands out for me this weekend, I just keep looking back at that Monaghan +4, just because how good they've been this year. I don't think they'll win, but how good they've been, and them games at Donegal that they have, like the one earlier in the year, tend to be tight games. So I think 1.83 +4 gives you a bit of wiggle room as well. So that's the one that's just standing out for me.
Yep.
So that concludes our predictions for this weekend, and what's going to be an absolutely excellent weekend of quarterfinal action. All 4 games could go anywhere. We could be completely wrong, or we could get the 4 out of 4. It's just that sort of weekend. So don't forget to like and subscribe, and check out Bet on Ireland for more tips and predictions. Lewis, until next time, I'll see you.
Yeah, see you then, Jack. Take care.